Hello! Welcome to Patrol Clip, and here are 10 things you didn't know about The Matrix. Of course, we now know the legacy of The Matrix. It's widely considered as one of the greatest science fiction films of all time. In the early 90s, Hollywood didn't want to take a chance on two untested filmmakers with an idea purely in conception. Let's take a look at how one of the most influential films of modern times made it to the screen. Number 10. The Origin. The Matrix would have never come to be if not for one crappy film, 1995's Assassins, a lazy action vehicle for Sylvester Stallone and Antonio Banderas, directed by Richard Donner. The screenplay for the film was actually the Wachowskis' second completed script. The film was optioned by legendary producer Dino De Laurentiis, who sold it to Warner Brothers for 5 times what he paid. Brian Hedgeland, who wrote LA Confidential and Mystic River, was brought in to overhaul the script, and Lana Wachowski claimed that Hedgeland's rewrites was different from their original script. The Wachowskis tried to have their names removed from the credits, but it wasn't all bad. Assassins played for the renovation of their parents' house and earned them a deal with Warner Bros.
I'll never be number one.
Why can't you two just kiss and make up?
You sick little bitch. Papi.
Goodbye, Miguel.
Hijo de la gran puta, me
Their manager, Laurence remembered that nobody got The Matrix when he first sent out the script in 1994. Warner bought it, half because of their relationship with the Wachowskis, and half because they thought something was there. Number 9. The Direction. Producer Joel Silver, whom they showed their script for The Matrix early on, was immediately blown away. The minute I started reading the script for The Matrix, I wanted to see it, he remembered. But then the Wachowskis said that he wanted to direct it. That was going to be tough. Instead of taking a gamble on the script that was obviously going to take a big budget to realize, Silver took a cautious approach. He greenlit Bound, a small piece about lesbian lovers on the run from the law, which the Wachowskis would write and direct. The film was made on a tight $6 million budget, and it was enough to convince Warner Brothers to let the freshly minted directors to continue with their passion project. Everyone seemed to agree that The Matrix had a great script, but nobody understood the Wachowskis' vision in the least. Number 8. Storyboards. The Wachowskis and other artists created storyboards and concept arts that finally sold Warner Brothers on the project. Obviously, it took more than words on a page to share the Wachowskis' vision, so they turned to Steve Skroce, who had worked for Marvel on The Amazing Spider-Man and Gambit comics, among others, and Geoff Darrow for his work on the Frank Miller series Hard Boiled. Lana Wachowski joked on BuzzFeed that the producers were so confused by the premise of The Matrix that nobody understood why the heroes couldn't just blow up The Matrix like the Death Star. Over 600 illustrations were created by Skroce and Darrow, and for the first time, executives were able to visualize how this crazy script would translate onto the screen. The artwork was so impressive that it was collected in a hardcover volume, The Art of the Matrix, in 2000. It was enough for Warner Brothers to greenlight a $60 million budget for The Matrix, and it's easy to see why. Number 7. The Cast. The cast was up to the decision of Warner Bros., although the Wachowskis had opinions of their own on the matter. Composer Don Davis revealed that the casting process was extensive, and that they considered every hot actor in Hollywood at the time, and that Keanu Reeves was not the Wachowskis' first choice. For the role of Neo, the first choice was Johnny Depp. Then the studio wanted Brad Pitt, but he turned it down, as did Val Kilmer and Will Smith. For the role of Morpheus, Samuel L. Jackson was considered, as well as Gary Oldman. The studio's choice was Sean Connery. However, it was revealed that Connery turned it down, leading to the casting of Laurence Fishburne. Will Smith has stated that he's glad that he turned down the role, as Reeves ended up being brilliant. Could you imagine The Matrix with a different cast? However, we still have no regrets about our Neo. Number 6. The location. The decision was made to shoot The Matrix on location, and on sound stages in Sydney, Australia, a low-budget solution. Sydney offered a perfect layout and architectural styles for depicting the nameless anonymous city where the action takes place. 30 sets were built, with futuristic-looking settings, such as the interior of Morpheus' ship. But the largest set stood in for a more mundane location, the government building where the insane second act shootout takes place. It took up an entire block, and it measured roughly half the length of a football stadium and 4 stories high. Number 5. The budget. Warner Bros. Initially budgeted the film at $10 million, which the Wachowskis considered not enough to bring their vision to life. The Wachowskis promptly spent the entire budget on the film's iconic opening scenes, to impress executives into forking over their entire requested amount of $60 million. Special effects supervisor John Gaeta discusses what really happened. The production was falling significantly behind, and executives got frustrated. So the Wachowskis and Gaeta made a plan. Over a weekend, they cleaned up the opening sequence and its visual effects, added in some temporary sound effects, and sent it to the studio. The plan worked, and Warner Bros. Immediately backed off, and at that point, they totally supported the movie. The shoot ended up taking 118 days, nearly a month longer than scheduled. Number 4. Choreography. Close quarters martial arts combat, with elements of wirework seen in Hong Kong action epics, was what the Wachowskis wanted. So they decided to go directly to the world's most renowned authority in martial arts choreography, Yuen Wu-ping, the man who made Jackie Chan a star. I really don't know how they got my number. I got a call from Hong Kong saying that these two brothers were really interested in talking to me, Yuen said. The Wachowskis sent him the script. Unlike Warner Brothers executives, Yuen got it immediately. His work began months before the cameras started rolling, to the initial shock of the cast, who were wondering what they had gotten into. Number 3. Let's fight. Reeves, Moss, Fishburne, and Weaving were subjected to a brutal training regimen that would have even tested professional athletes. Fishburne remembers, "I initially thought we were going to do kung fu for maybe 4 or 5 weeks, or something like that. It ended up being months and months of training," end quote. All of this came from the early decisions that the actors would perform their own stunts. Yuen accepted the challenge to make these ranked novices look like they had been performing these maneuvers all their lives. There were also several injuries to Reeves, his neck, and Weaving, his leg. Too complicated to process. Weaving said, "Initially they took us on and saw that we were useless, hopeless at kung fu.
Funny because he had the hip and I had the neck.
But they slowly realized after a couple weeks that maybe we were going to be able to get to a level where we'd be halfway decent. Great work, guys. You all look like experts." Number 2. The tech. It was absolutely stunning in 1999. No effects quite like these had ever been seen before, such as the effect known as bullet time. It's been referenced, imitated, and parodied in the years since the release of The Matrix. Bullet time creates the effect of a shot bullet moving in extreme slow motion, slow enough to track the trajectory of those whizzing bullets, while the camera appears to be tracking them at normal speed. The Japanese film Akira and director Michael Gondry were inspirations for VFX supervisor John Gaeta for the concept. Gaeta said his music videos experimented with a different kind of technique called view morphing. Their technique was significantly different because they built the technology to move around objects in motion, rather than the static action in Gondry's music videos with limited camera moves. The Matrix's shots were constructed completely from green screen, into which a circular array of 120 still cameras and 2 motion cameras resided. Each sequence was first digitally simulated, then staged with the camera array to shoot in the specific sequence with precise timing. Number 1. Sharing the set. Dark City, which was released in 1998, has been known as being very similar to The Matrix, and it turns out they actually shared the sets. Dark City sets, including the rooftop in which Trinity makes her initial escape from the agents, were reused for The Matrix. Roger Ebert gave The Matrix a moderately favorable review, accusing it of ripping off the earlier film. Highly unlikely, since the Wachowski script was written long before 1998. Ebert kept comparing The Matrix unfavorably to Dark City, which he considered to be the greatest film of its time. In 2005, he stated, "Dark City preceded The Matrix by a year, and on a smaller budget with special effects that owe as much to imagination as to technology, it did what The Matrix wanted to do earlier, and with more feeling." He may be right, but he can't deny the massive success of The Matrix. Well, that's our list. Do you know anything else about the behind the scenes of The Matrix? Let us know down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time on Patrol Clip.